music can be a powerful force. It can build up an atmosphere, make us feel sadness and joy, and bring people together with a shared element. But in gaming, it can sometimes be an unwelcome intrusion. So why does music work in harmony with some games, but create dissonant experiences in others? Let's talk about it today on Draw 5 Move 5. Hey everyone, and welcome to the table. My name is Gabe, and this is Draw 5 Move 5, a show where we draw connections between the mechanics behind our favorite games. While I initially started my college experience focused on 2D animation, I soon found my passion for sound, and now study sound design for film. Part of designing sound for a film is a consideration of music. What kind of music should back the scene? Should it be one track for the entire film, or many? What tone do I need to establish, and does this piece of music do so? Should this film even have music, or should it rely on sound design or silence to carry it? These same thoughts can cross the mind of many game developers. For video games especially, music can play a huge role in a player's enjoyment of the game. When I was a kid, there were times I'd just play Pokemon with the volume off, but as I grew older, I'd start playing with headphones because I really enjoyed the music, and it helped me feel like I was truly on a journey, growing with the creatures that I caught and raised. Music's relationship with gaming is far more complex than a simple backing, however. There are times and places to use music or not. Some games where its use is integral, and others where it can detract from the overall experience. The simplest relationship music can have to a game is when the game's core mechanics are built around it. The most common examples of this are rhythm game series such as Dance Dance Revolution, Just Dance, and Guitar Hero, where the performative aspect of music is highlighted. In each of these series, the goal is to perform along to the music, as the names would imply, by either dancing to the beat or playing an instrument. More commonly, however, will be a game whose tasks are associated with the timing of the music, and less of a focus on performance. Examples of this include party games like musical chairs, video games such as the Rhythm Heaven series where you perform a variety of small fun mini-games in time to a musical beat, and the Crypt of the Necrodancer series, whose most recent installment was a crossover with the Zelda franchise, whose core mechanic is performing combat to the beat of music in order to succeed. In each of these instances, though the game isn't about performance, the music is still integral to the gameplay mechanics. Everything you do still revolves around timing or events associated with music. Most games, however, don't feature music-focused gameplay. The decision of whether or not a game should have music associated boils down to a single question. Does the game have a narrative that the music can support, or is the game not narrative-driven? As I've learned from my experience in film, music can help immerse an audience and invest them in a story. It can set the tone, make them feel as though they're truly there. The same is true of music in many gaming settings. The video game Hollow Knight is an excellent example of this. The tone of the music sets the mood as you explore the depths of a ruined utopia built by bugs. Different areas of Hollownest, the ruined kingdom you explore, have different musical scores that echo both the majesty of a strong civilization now lost, and the sadness of its falling into decay. Boss fights have music that makes them feel dangerous and climactic, as your life is on the line trying to defend the world that still exists above, and the creatures with intact sanity that live below. The world is creepy yet beautiful, and the orchestral score always sets this tone perfectly. No element of Hollow Knight is about the music, but its introduction provides a complete and wonderful experience that would be missed otherwise. It immerses the player in its world, its sorrows and triumphs. It builds and releases dramatic tension, making the game more cinematic and feel more like a true epic story, the kind of thing you'd see in a film. This extends beyond video games. Tabletop RPGs are often enhanced with background music to establish scene and tone. In my Dungeons & Dragons games, one of my fellow players has a catalog of mood music that he plays as we adventure. He's got music for everything, from sad moments of realization to climactic battles and exploration of swamps, mountains, and dungeons. Everything we do feels that much more like living out a fantasy, that much more cinematic, with the music backing our journeys and supporting our emotions. While our DM isn't the one who takes care of our musical needs, many dungeon masters do, and pick their music for specific fights or environments in order to enhance the experience they have planned for their players. Picking out music that will ratchet up the tension or make the party feel immersed in their particular environment lends to the cinematic nature of the game and strengthens the narrative. Music can also help establish characters, not just settings. Ever notice how when certain characters in a film are on screen or are arriving when we haven't seen them in a bit, The certain cinematic musical cues may occur. They make great use of this in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where the protagonist Miles Morales has his own musical cues. As he becomes more confident in his abilities as Spider-Man, however, his music becomes overlaid with more elements of the traditional Spider-Man theme song. This same idea holds true for many characters in film, and this musical evolution and theming can also be granted to video game characters. The Pokemon franchise makes great use of this in many of its games. In Pokemon Black and White, for example, we see a particular theme for one of the player's primary rivals, N. The mysterious green-haired man shows up now and again, remarking on the player's bond with their partner Pokemon. A certain theme, called Prisoner to a Formula, plays when N arrives in the overworld, then stops after he leaves. Several other themes borrow from this one, showing some of N's different stages of life as things have changed. The Pokemon child N twists the theme into a nursery-like xylophone with an uneven rhythm, making us feel for N's troubled childhood. N's Castle and N's Dragon borrows some tones from the original and less of the score, showing how much N has changed as he's blinded by the ambitions of the man who raised him, especially in the final days leading up to your confrontation with him. Many of the game's later themes related to N, namely N's Castle and N's Dragon, borrow from his caretaker Ghetsis' theme, who is the one who with truly evil ambitions that had tricked N into aiding him throughout his life under the guise of protecting Pokemon from the people that would do them wrong. We can hear N's music warping to be more like Ghetsis' until the moment where Ghetsis reveals his true goals. After this, N's themes take on their original tone and score at all later meetings. In this way, the music supports the narratives of multiple characters the player interacts with, while also introducing something familiar to latch onto for the characters. Once again, the music supports the narrative. However, there are many games where music isn't a help, and can in fact be a hindrance or annoyance. All of these games are ones that lack a narrative and are instead more about the skills of a player or players as they battle against an adversary, rather than building or discovering a story or setting. Games that are demanding of the player's attention are often the type that encourage them to ignore music. During my years of teaching chess, we would have rock music in the background while kids played. While I can't particularly say that Billy Joel or Queen helped the kids learn chess and checkers better, I do know that there were kids that were more focused on the music than on the game. It's hard with a good beat to ignore it and do something else, especially something as mentally intensive as chess, checkers, and other games of strategy. There's a reason there are easily hundreds of studies trying to determine if music is a benefit or hindrance while studying. Some types of music for different people help them focus rather than be distracted, but others really may interrupt concentration. Beyond this, however, music interferes with a key component of all non-narrative games: player communication. When I play Yu-Gi-Oh!, I expect to have my opponent's attention. We're playing a game where interaction is important, and missing out on a chance to activate a card in response to a particular effect could cost the game. Confirming an effect's activation, what effect is activating, designating attack targets, and attacking monsters. All of this needs to be done with more than just a hand motion. There need to be verbal confirmations. For this reason, I always pay as much attention to my opponent as I can, and I expect them to do the same. Listening to music that could cause distraction and hinder communication is a big issue. In fact, many players find it rude for their opponents to wear earbuds or headphones while playing, as it feels disrespectful. It has a certain implication that they don't find what their opponent has to say important, and that they may make the other player feel as though they aren't taken seriously. This sets a poor precedent from the beginning of a match and sets the players up to be at odds, which is never something you want in a game involving communication and potential judge calls. In competitive esports as well, music can't get in the way of team communication if a group wants to be successful. For example, while Overwatch and League of Legends have their own composed musical tracks, rarely if ever do competitive teams listen to that onboard music, or any music at all for that matter. A player not only needs to be watching the battlefield, but managing their own abilities, the opponent's team, and communicating with their own about what moves to make and when. Adding something else to listen to, in addition to all the auditory and visual information that a player has to take in already, is setting a player, and by extension their team, up for failure. Music in games, just as in cinema and in all artistic pursuits, has a time and a place. Some games tie their core mechanics to music, while others use it to enhance the narrative they tell through its ability to establish tone, atmosphere, and drama. Many others function better without music, seeing it as another distraction to an already challenging scenario. Whatever the case, music is as deeply ingrained in gaming as it is in film, and a developer, dungeon master, or player who can use it in harmony with a game can create truly memorable moments that will resonate for years. Using it poorly, however, can create dissonance that may push players away. Either way though, the band plays on. Thank you so much for watching. You have my humble and eternal gratitude. What did you think of the conversation? Does music feel like it benefits all games for you, or do you agree that it has a time and a place? And what are some of your favorite game tracks, be they original to a game or songs you play while gaming? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so let's keep this discussion rolling down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video and you want to hear more from me, hit the like button. I'm putting out new videos every week on games and gaming mechanics, so subscribe and ding-a-ling that notification bell so you never miss an update. My name is Gabe, this is Draw 5 Move 5, and until next week, go have a good game.